Ani bonjour, wapshko mangan nishnikas, pumloshko dang donjma, mokwan doima. Nishna bemo in kinomaget, da o de TAS Tech, Thomas A. Stewart Secondary, Ishnikodek. Today, I had a conversation with my students. We all talked about language. And we have a different kind of sentence, that we work on every day, right? And so we were asking each other this sentence, and I wrote it out here. And our sentence was, Anish ga jichigeyen dibakong. And the first thing I asked them is, what do you recognize in this sentence? And so, well, Anish is kind of like Anin, so that's like hello, right? Okay, well, people use Anin for hi and that kind of thing. But it kind of means more like how or what, that kind of idea, right? Because we know this is a question, right? So it's not hi. No, we're asking a question. And then other students, they looked at Dibakong and they were like, oh, okay, that's like Dibekagizis. Like the moon. So maybe we're talking about the moon or something to do with nighttime. Absolutely. And that yin, we're talking about you when we ask this question. That's absolutely right. Yin is you, right? And so we kind of looked at these different parts and looked at what was familiar on Nishga, Jichige, Yin, Dibakong. And then I said, okay, now we're just going to say the whole thing. And it came out, Anisha, and we're going to mumble and we don't really know how to say the whole thing. Okay, so we're going to practice all together. And lots of people, but the way that we're going to do this is from the end, and then we're going to work our way to the front. And lots of people do this in lots of different kind of teaching contexts. When you're people teach chess, you start at the end games and you add more pieces in as you get better and better and better, make things more complex. I was like, okay, so we'll start with Dibakong. Everyone say Dibakong. Everyone say Dibakong in threes. Dibakong, Dibakong, Dibakong. Excellent. Okay. Now we're going to say Yin. Yin Dibakong. Excellent. Chigayin Dibakong. Chigayin Dibakong. Jitchigayin Dibakong. Jitchigayin Dibakong. Ga Jitchigayin Dibakong. Ga Jitchigayin Dibakong. And then finally we're saying the whole thing. Anish Ga Jitchigayin Dibakong. Anish Ga Jitchigayin Dibakong. And so we, as a class, we were able to practice this full sentence, which is a lot more than, just a single word, as a lot of times we kind of can maybe answer in one word, maybe two words. Now we're using full sentences. And then I asked them, okay, because we do different things in our class, different activities. It was nice out in the fall, so we were outside a lot. And we worked on this knot, the bowline. And I said, okay, it was 2 months ago. Who remembers how to tie this knot? Oh, well, a few hands shot right up. Yep, I remember that. You remember how to do it, or you remember doing it? Do you know how to tie this knot? Put up your hand, everyone in this class, if you remember how to tie this knot. Maybe a third of them kind of sheepishly put up their hand. Okay, and I handed out some pieces of rope. Okay, tie it for me. Hold it up when you're done. And the rest of us kind of sat there waiting, and no one, they had the general idea of what it was supposed to look like, right? But there was a couple slip knots. Some of them just tied lots and lots of knots and made it look like that. Kind of served the same function, but I mean, it wasn't pretty. And so I said, okay. How come we don't remember how to tie this knot? Well, because we learned it like for a couple days, like 2 months ago. How are we supposed to remember how to tie a specific knot from like 2 months ago? No, we only did for like a couple days. Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's absolutely right. How are you going to remember how to tie this knot? Someone showed you this 2 months ago, spent a couple days. How are you supposed to remember how to tie your knot? And it's like, well, I don't even know how to tie it right now. I couldn't do it tomorrow. If we had, okay, well, let me show you then. And I said, and we can do it the same way that we just learned that sentence. And so we have, if we start with the finished knot, right? The whole knot, we're going to start at the very end. And I said, okay, so how does this knot look? Well, if we look at it, this part right here, we're going to say that's yin. Just like that same sentence that we learned today. So we know that this part goes right in there, yin. So we'll do that in threes. Yin, yin, yin. Okay? And he's like, okay, all right, okay. And I said, okay, so now we got yin. Now we're going to add the zhichige. Okay, so we've got our yin. And we notice that it goes around here, eh? Okay, zhichige, yin. Just like how we did it. Yin, zhichige, yin. Okay. And he got real excited. He's like, okay, I got it. I know it now. I was like, okay, here you go. Tie a slip knot. No, that's not what we're doing. Okay, so let's back up. Let's do it again. We've got yin, right? Zhichige, yin. Now let's look at this part. This can be our ga of our sentence, right? Ga, 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 zhichige. Remember, we go around. Yin. Okay. He's like, all right, I got it. Tried it again. We had difficulties. Okay, let's go slow. We'll just slow down. We're going to add the whole thing now. So we've got our yin, we've got our zhichige, we've got our ga. Let's add our anish. So we took our rope, our sabab, we added our anish. Just like that. Anish. Anish. Ga. Zhichige. Yin. Anish, ga, zhichige, yin. So we added that whole, we did that whole thing together. We started from the end, we worked our way to the front, and by working piece by piece, small piece by piece, we got that whole thing. And so then I asked, okay, so you learned this knot today, again. You've learned this sentence, again, because I've used it before. How are we going to remember how to tie our knot? How are we going to remember the language that we learn in class? So all the class, they sat and thought about it. And one of the quiet ones that kind of keeps his head down and sits in the back and doesn't really speak up too often. He says, you got to do them every day. Yeah, we got to do it every day, you know. But where are we going to do? Where are we going to tie knots every day? When are we going to tie knots every day? Well, wherever you are. Okay, sure. Yeah. If we're in class and we're bored and we have a piece of rope, sure, we can tie knots. But are you going to remember them? It could get boring. Are you going to keep doing that every day? You might. When would it be meaningful to use this knot? Oh, well, if I'm putting up shelters, if I'm at the dock maybe. Absolutely. You want to use this when you need it to make a meaningful kind of connection or relationship with this knot. Oh, I need this knot when I do this, when I do this, when I do this, when I do all these things, and I can start doing these things more often in my life, and I have more reason to learn all these knots, because I'm sure boat people, they know all these knots, right? Yep. And so, okay, so what about your Anishinaabe? What's going to help you to remember these knots? You know, if we're thinking about all these connections we're making in our mind, you know, we're trying to tie new knots in our neural pathways to remember this language. How are we going to remember those knots? Use it every day. Excellent. Where are we going to use it? In class. That's not good enough. Where else can we use it? Oh, with grandma and grandpa. Hey, yep. How often do you see grandma and grandpa? Nokamis, Mishomis. Oh, I don't know, maybe once a month, or once a week, every other week, once a month. Well, that's not enough. You want to go visit and you want to use your language as much as you can in meaningful situations, and you're going to see they'll just light right up, and you start using language. And you can use it with your friends too. You can, you know, oh isnada, let's go eat, you know, different things. And so that was something that happened today that I thought was pretty cool. And we do it a lot, you know, whether we're using knots or whether we're using signs where, you know, yin, jichige yin, ga jichige yin, anish, ga jichige yin. You know, it doesn't have to be knots. It can be hand gestures. It can be different things, right? Signed, exact, Anishinaabe. All these different things, or anything that works that's going to help us to teach and learn and remember our language. Very much.